Today is our 15th lecture. Okay, and we have covered quite a good number of topics till now. Still, although we have to go a long way to cover the entire syllabus, but a fairly good amount of topics we have discussed so far. Okay, and yesterday we were talking about the enthalpy and the dry adiabatic lapse rate. We also talked about the potential temperature. So, do you remember what is potential temperature? Can somebody define what is the potential temperature? Am I audible and visible clearly? Am I audible and visible? Yes
Yes,
or
sir.
no? Okay. So, can somebody explain what is potential temperature? Yesterday we discussed about that. Hmm? Yesterday we discussed about the potential temperature. Vijit, can you explain? Vijit, are you able to hear me? Yes or no? Silent. Say something whether you remember or you don't remember. Yes or no? Vijit, can't hear you. Okay. Deepak, can you explain
Sir,
what is potential
sir, there's
temperature?
a noise, sir. I couldn't hear properly, sir.
You could not hear me properly now or yesterday?
Now, sir.
Okay. Is it Acha, still not audible?
Sometimes there is a noise, sir. Hmm.
Sometimes there is a
Now
noise.
it's okay. Now it's okay,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So I asked, do you remember what is potential temperature? We discussed about it yesterday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you tell what is the potential temperature?
So the potential temperature is the temperature air parcel would attain if it is adiabatically compressed or expanded to a certain pressure, the standard pressure.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Yeah. To a standard pressure, 1000 millibar. Generally, it is taken as 1000 millibar. Yeah. Absolutely right. So is that clear, everybody? Anjali, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you restate once again what Deepak has said about the potential temperature definition?
The temperature at which the parcel is adiabatically expanded or compressed its standard pressure.
Okay, yes. So that is the basic definition of the potential temperature. And yesterday we also derived the expression, the formula for the potential temperature, right? Generally is denoted by the symbol theta, right?
Theta.
We said that potential temperature is a very important parameter because it remains conserved. Okay, and therefore sometimes we also take this potential temperature theta as one of the vertical coordinates of the governing equations of atmosphere. Okay, and do you remember what is the coordinate called when we choose theta as the vertical coordinate? What is the coordinate name in that case? Hmm? Who can remember? Who can say? When we use theta as a vertical coordinate, yesterday we briefly discussed that this we used the z, that is the geopotential, the geometric height or the pressure or sigma or theta as the vertical coordinate of the governing equations of the model. So if we use theta as a vertical coordinate, then what is that system called? What is that coordinate called? Nobody remembers? Hmm? Nobody remembers. Sri Lakshmi?
Geopotential.
That is called what? Which system? That is called isentropic system. Isoentropic system. Right? Isentropic system. When we use the theta as the vertical coordinate, we call it as isentropic system. Okay. And we also discussed that theta we utilize for the thermodynamic diagrams. We mentioned about the thermodynamic diagrams in one of the earlier classes, right? Through thermodynamic diagrams, we can calculate graphically many of the atmospheric properties like stability. Most important, for example, among them, the stability. Whether the atmosphere is stable or unstable, we can determine from the thermodynamic diagrams by plotting the vertical profiles of temperature, dry bulb temperature and wet bulb temperature or dew point temperature. Okay, those things I hope that you have studied, because I had mentioned about them in one of the classes earlier, that you must study those temperatures, definitions of those different temperatures. Okay, so let us discuss about the thermodynamic diagram today. While explaining the adiabatic processes, we mentioned about a diagram in which P, the pressure, was the vertical coordinate in the y-axis, right? And in the x-axis, we plotted the volume, if you remember yesterday's class. Okay, we can plot the characteristics of the atmosphere in various ways, okay, through various lines, and we shall discuss about those things today. The pressure is plotted on the ordinate, that is the y-axis, on a distorted scale in which the distance from the origin is proportional to P to the power RD by Cp. P to the power RD by Cp, or RD by Cp is equal to 0.286. Remember, this is one of the factors in the definition of the potential temperature. RD is the gas constant for the dry air, and Cp is the specific heat at constant pressure, right? You remember the definition of theta. Let me go back to the previous slide. Small, stuck. Okay. You just go back to the previous slide and okay, right. So this is the definition of theta. This is the definition of theta, right? Potential temperature is equal to T, that is the ambient temperature, times P naught by P to the power R by Cp. Okay, and it's also called the Poisson equation. If you remember, we discussed about it yesterday, where R is the gas constant. And as we discussed many times earlier, that generally we treat the gas constant for dry air for all practical purposes, rather than taking the gas constant for, say, moist air, because the gas constant for moist air will depend upon how much is the moisture content in the air, and which can vary, right, from place to place, from time to time. So therefore, instead of using a varying gas constant for the moist air, we generally use a fixed gas constant for the dry air, which does not change. And so in that case, R by Cp is equal to approximately 0.286, okay, because RD is the 287 joules per Kelvin per kilogram. Okay, so this is what is coming in the next slide, which we just discussed. Yeah, R d by Cp, P to the power R d by Cp. So what you are saying is that rather than plotting or taking simple pressure in the y-axis, we take a slightly distorted value, and which is P to the power RD by Cp for the convenience. Okay, regardless of whether air is dry or moist. Okay, and the temperature T is plotted in the abscissa x-axis. Okay, then the last equation, that is the potential temperature equation, can be written as P to the power 286 is equal to P naught divided by theta to the power 0.286 times T. Okay, let's say this is equation number 8. All right, So what we are trying to say is that now in this diagram, we are plotting temperature in the x-axis and pressure in the y-axis. Well, it is a simple pressure. Okay, it is not the distorted pressure as we mentioned here, P to the power RD by Cp, right? Also, you notice here is that there are many slant lines here, right? Sloped lines, and these lines are the lines of equal potential temperature. These lines are the lines of equal potential temperature. Okay, so this is, say, for example, theta is equal to 100 Kelvin. This is theta is equal to 200 Kelvin. Theta is equal to 300 Kelvin, 400, 500, and so on, right? And if you remember yesterday, we mentioned that the potential temperature theta remains conserved during the dry adiabatic process, right? We discussed that yesterday. The potential temperature remains conserved during the dry adiabatic process. And that is also true because of the definition of the theta itself. Because we are saying that theta is the temperature which an air parcel would attain when it is brought down adiabatically to a standard pressure level, say 1000 millibar, right? So theta, the lines of equal theta or isolines of theta are also called the dry adiabates. These isolines of theta are also called the dry adiabates. Okay. So for a constant value of theta, this equation is of the form like y is proportional to x. If we look at this equation, we can say that this equation is something similar to y is proportional to x. Okay, where y is equal to this p to the power 0.286, which is this one, RD by Cp. Okay, so this is what we say that now we try to use this in the y-axis, which is distorted pressure rather than a simple pressure. Okay, and x is the temperature, and this is a constant of proportionality for each value of theta, say 100, 200, 300, 400, and so on. Now, for different values of theta, we can say that this is something like y is proportional to x, where x is temperature and y is this one, right? And the constant of proportionality is P naught to the power 0.286. So for each value of theta, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and so on, okay, we can say that this equation can take the form of y proportional to x. Okay. Now each constant value of theta represents a dry adiabate, as I said. Each constant value of theta represents a dry adiabate. So during a dry adiabatic ascent or descent, when an air mass is ascending or descending dry adiabatically, then it will follow this line. Okay, it will follow this line. We just go along this line. Okay, dry adiabate, which is defined by a straight line with a particular slope that passes through the point P is equal to 0, this P is equal to 0, and T is equal to 0. Okay, this is the pressure at the top of the atmosphere, considered to be 0, right? At the bottom, we are taking 1000 millibar as standard pressure rather than the actual surface pressure, which can be different, which can differ from place to place, vary from place to place. We are just considering a standard pressure level 1000 millibar. Okay. So each lines of equal potential temperature originating from P is equal to 0 and T is equal to 0. Okay. And they are called the dry adiabates. Okay, dry adiabates. If the pressure scale is inverted so that P increases downward, okay, that's what it is shown in this diagram. P is increasing downward. The relation takes the form shown in this figure, okay, which is the basis for the pseudo adiabatic chart. Okay, this kind of charts or this kind of diagram is also called the pseudo-adiabatic diagram. Pseudo-adiabatic diagram. Remember, we had explained or discussed about this pseudo-adiabatic process in one of the previous lectures. We had discussed about the dry adiabatic process, we had discussed about the moist adiabatic process, and we also discussed about the pseudo-adiabatic process. Pseudo, that means not real, it is pseudo, right? Virtual, pseudo-adiabatic process. So this kind of diagram also is referred to as the pseudo-adiabatic diagram or pseudo-adiabatic chart, or forms the basis of pseudo-adiabatic chart, which we use very frequently for all methodological purpose. Okay, that is used to widely for the methodological computations. Okay, now only the blue shaded area, that is this area generally, is printed for use in the methodological computations. The sloping lines, these lines, each level with a value of potential temperature theta, are dry adiabates. We already mentioned about that. The actual temperature of the air is this one, 100. No, these are the potential temperature, but the actual temperature are the vertical lines. Vertical lines, vertical lines. Okay, isotherms. Given on the abscissa at 1000 millibar is equal to the potential temperature in this case, of course. Right. So generally, you will see later that when we plot the actual profile of temperature and a specific humidity or dew point temperature, okay, on this kind of diagrams, they generally are confined in a very narrow belt shown by this blue shaded portion, light blue shaded portion. Is this diagram visible to all of you clearly? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So generally we will see that when we plot the vertical profiles of temperature and dew point temperature or wet bulb temperature on a pseudo adiabatic diagram or on a thermodynamic diagram, generally they are confined in this blue portion only. So generally in the meteorological charts, which we shall see later, we only highlight this portion, or we zoom. This portion is zoomed in the thermodynamic diagrams for meteorological purposes, so that now we can have a larger view of the variation of temperature and the specific humidity or the dew point temperature when we plot them on this kind of diagrams. This area is zoomed generally in the thermodynamic diagrams for meteorological purposes. Okay. In the pseudo adiabatic chart, in the previous diagram as you saw, isotherms are vertical and dry adiabates are oriented at an acute angle relative to the isotherms. Last figure, right? Last figure as you saw, the isotherms are vertical, although the isotherms are not shown here. Yeah, isotherms are not shown here. Okay, but if we just, because this is temperature is plotted in the x-axis, so isotherms are basically vertical lines. Just like this can be one of the isotherms. This can be one of the isotherms. Okay, and if we really plot them properly, then it could look something like that. Let me try to just illustrate to you. I don't know whether I am able to do it here properly. Insert. How do I insert? Home. Okay. And let me go to the slide. Okay. So if I just draw a line here. So it is, no, it is just not working. because it's just moving along with the. If I want to draw the line here, what will happen? Suppose here. Okay, I hope I will be able to draw now. Yeah, can you see this line now, vertical line? Is this vertical line visible? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
I'll make it bold slightly. Okay. So like that, we can draw the vertical lines. Yeah. Give some weightage here. And so, I mean, it has become slightly slant, but it can be vertical. Exactly vertical, yeah. Okay. So these lines are actually the isotherms. These vertical lines are isotherms. Clear? And these slanted sloped lines are the adiabates, the dry adiabates. Okay, in this case, the horizontal lines are, tell me, what are the horizontal lines?
isobars.
Isobars.
Yes, isobars, exactly. These horizontal lines are the isobars, the vertical lines are the isotherms, and the sloped or slanted lines are the dry adiabate. Okay, now we go to the next slide. Okay, so because changes in the temperature with height in atmosphere generally lie between the isothermal and dry adiabatic process. Most temperature soundings lie within a narrow range of angles when plotted on a pseudo-adiabatic chart. Otherwise, the blue shaded area which we discussed in the previous diagram. Okay, because generally the processes in the atmosphere are such that they lie within isothermal and dry adiabatic process. So when we plot the temperature and moisture profiles, they will lie only within that blue shaded area. And that's why I said that we expand or zoom that areas to have a better view of the variation of the characteristics or profiles of atmosphere in the vertical. Okay. This restriction is overcome in the so-called SQT log P chart. Another chart called the SQT log P chart, in which the ordinate y is minus log of v, minus log of p. Here the minus sign ensures that lower pressure levels are located above the higher pressure levels on the chart. Okay, so instead of plotting or taking P as the vertical axis, vertical coordinate, we take minus of log P. That means we slightly skew the chart, and that's why it's called also the SQT log P chart. SQT, T remains the same as in the horizontal, but P is skewed to minus of log P. And so it's called the SQT log P chart or SQT log P diagram. Okay, and this looks like this one. The SQT log P diagram looks like this one. Here, now this is not the simple pressure, mind you. This is skewed, okay, to minus of log P. All right, and now we are slightly tilting or changing the orientation of the diagram so that the isotherms are these slanted lines now. These slanted lines are isotherms. And these slanted lines are the dry adiabates. Dry adiabates. So, for example, this is 273 Kelvin, this is 293 Kelvin, 253 Kelvin. So, these are the dry adiabate or lines of equal potential temperature. They are the lines of equal potential temperature. Okay, these are the isotherms, lines of equal temperature. Okay, and these are the skewed P, that is minus log of P. Okay. On the SQT log P chart, isotherms are straight parallel lines that slope upward. Straight parallel lines that slope upward from left to right. Okay. The scale up for the x-axis is generally chosen to make the angle between the isotherms and isobars about 45 degree. That means these isotherms and isobars are approximately at angle of 45 degree. They are slanted. These lines are slanted at an angle of 45 degree as depicted schematically in this diagram. Okay. Note that the isotherms are on a SQT log P chart are intentionally skewed by about 45 degree from their vertical orientation in the pseudo-adiabatic chart. Hence the name SQT log P chart. It is called the SQT log P diagram. SQT log P diagram. Because they are skewed. Temperature lines or isotherms are skewed by about 45 degree from the isobars. The angle between the isotherms and the dry adiabates on this SQT log P chart are generally approximately 90 degree. Okay, approximately 90 degree. Therefore, when the atmospheric temperature soundings are plotted on this chart, the small differences in slope are more apparent than they are on a pseudo-adiabatic chart. Okay, because these dry adiabates and isotherms are approximately perpendicular to each other. So small changes, small variations in the temperature in the vertical or dew point temperature in the vertical or even mixing ratio, etc., get magnified, okay, and look better, okay, on the SQT log P chart. So this is just one type of thermodynamic diagram. Okay, this is one type of thermodynamic diagram, SQT log P chart. The real diagram, I'll show you how it looks like. The real diagram we call T5gram. We'll discuss about that now shortly, which is used now practically for meteorological purposes in all the meteorological departments, whether it is IMD or anywhere in the world. Now, in the Met offices, in the Met departments, practically we use the T5gram, so-called T5gram, okay, T5gram, which is actually a SQT log P diagram, basically some form, one form of the SQT log P diagram, T5gram. And the T5gram looks something like this one. Now, I don't know how clear is this diagram visible to you. Is this diagram visible to you properly? There are so many lines in this diagram. Can you all see this diagram properly on your
Yes,
screen?
sir, but it's not clear, sir.
Not so clear. It's about dim. Yeah, it's a little bit dull. And also, most of you are watching only on the mobile, I suppose. Right? You are not watching on the laptop or desktop. Therefore, it will not be so clear at all. But I'll just try to explain you what these lines are. So many lines here in this diagram. It looks clumsy, although, but they are very, very important. It provides lots of important information. Okay. Now, in this diagram, called the T5grams, the horizontal lines, for example, now are these lines clearly visible? These blue lines, these other lines, are they visible clearly now? This one, this
Yes, sir.
bold
Yes,
line.
sir.
Sir.
Okay. So now these lines, for example, the dry adiabatic. Now you see these horizontal lines, okay? They are the horizontal lines. So these horizontal lines are the dry adiabate. Okay, these horizontal lines are the dry adiabate. First of all, now this is the pressure. Okay, on the vertical you have got no, this is not the pressure actually, because in this T5gram the pressure values are slanted. Okay, it is skewed, and these are the isobars. These are the isobars, equal pressure lines. So this is, for example, say this is 850 millibar. Okay, this is 800 millibar. This is 700 millibar. Okay, this is 600 millibar, 500 millibar, 400 millibar, 300. Okay, and so on. And then it is blown up above that 250, 200, 150, and above that 100. Okay, this is the typical T5gram in which the isobars are slanted, sloped like this. Okay, isobars are sloped like this. The dry adiabates or equal potential temperature lines are horizontal. Okay, the curved lines, if you see it carefully, although may not be visible so clearly on your mobile phone, but you can notice that there are some many curved lines. See this curved line? Can you see this curved line? Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So light green, very dim lines, which are there in this chart everywhere. This one, this one, this one, this one. See all these lines. They are the light greens, sloped or curved lines. They are called the moist adiabates. They're called the moist adiabates or pseudo adiabates, you can say. Okay, they're called the moist adiabates. So when the air is moist, when the air is not completely dry, and if it rises above the ground, then it will follow these moist adiabatic lines, moist adiabates. When the air is dry, and if it rises, a dry air parcel, if it is rising up, then it will follow the dry adiabate. It will lose its temperature at the dry adiabatic lapse rate. You have seen the dry adiabatic lapse rate. How much is the dry adiabatic lapse rate? Tell me. How much is the dry adiabatic lapse rate? Yesterday we discussed. Tell me.
10 degrees per kilometer.
Yeah, approximately 10 degree, correct. Approximately 10 degree, 9.8 degree per kilometer, right? So when we are plotting the temperature and the dew point temperature on this chart, if the air is dry, it will lose the temperature at a rate of dry adiabatic lapse rate. Dry adiabatic lapse rate. That means it will follow the horizontal line because pressure is decreasing upward along with the slope. I said this is say 1050 millibar, then this is 1000 millibar, and like that, this is 900 millibar, 850, and so on. Right? So when we are plotting the temperature at different pressure levels, the profile will look, I'll show you the profile later on. It will look like this one, for example, and it will lose the temperature as it goes up at the dry adiabatic lapse rate if the air is dry. But if the air is moist, then it will lose its temperature at the moist adiabatic lapse rate, especially when the saturation reaches. When the air parcel is rising up, it will get cooled, and after certain height, it will become saturated. And after it becomes saturated, then it will follow the saturated adiabate or moist adiabate or pseudo adiabatic lines. So it will lose the temperature at the rate of moist adiabatic lapse rate, which is approximately, do you remember how much? Moist adiabatic lapse rate. Somebody? What? 4 to 6 degrees centigrade per kilometer. Moist adiabatic lapse rate. How much?
4 to 6 degrees Celsius per kilometer.
Exactly. So when the air becomes moist or saturated after rising at a certain level, then from that level onwards, it will lose its temperature at the rate of moist adiabatic lapse rate, which is about 4 to 6 degrees centigrade per kilometer. Okay. The normal lapse rate in the atmosphere is between dry adiabatic lapse rate and the moist adiabatic lapse rate. Okay. Now, there are many more lines in this, there are many more information on this diagram. I don't know how much visible it is to you or not, but you can see these dotted dashed lines. Are these lines visible, dashed lines? Is it visible to you? Dash line, this line, dash line. Can you see
Yes,
this?
sir, but very slightly visible, sir.
Very slightly visible. Red colored dashed lines. These also sloped, slanted. And these are called the lines of equal mixing ratio. Okay, these are called the lines of equal mixing ratio. Okay, vertical lines are isotherms. Say these are the isotherms: 0 degree, 10 degree, 20 degree, 30 degree, and on the left side 0, -10, -20, -30, and so on. So if you are plotting the profile of the temperature, generally temperature will decrease as you go up, and after some time it will become minus negative. Okay, around 100 millibar or so, the temperature can become as low as -70, -80 degrees centigrade, -90 degrees centigrade at about say 100 millibar. Okay, so these are there -90, -80, -70. So this low temperature is generally found at the height of about 15-16 kilometers above the ground. So these are the isotherms, which are vertical lines. Okay, isotherms, the red dashed lines are lines of equal mixing ratio. Okay, the slanted lines are isobars. The horizontal lines are adiabates or dry adiabates. So if you have plotted the temperature profile and dew point temperature profile on this diagram, then at any given level, you can easily find out what is the mixing ratio. And from the mixing ratio, you can find out immediately what is the specific humidity of the air parcel at that level. What is the specific humidity of the air parcel at that level? Okay, these are the advantage of the T5 or thermodynamic diagrams utilization or application in meteorology. Further, this is now further zoomed or blown up. Okay, in this diagram. So this is the typical one portion of the T5. Okay, and I was telling you in the previous slide that there are sloped, curved lines like this one, and I said that they are the moist adiabates or so-called the saturated adiabates. And you have seen the horizontal lines in the previous diagram, and they were called the dry adiabates. And these lines sloping from left to right upwards are the isobaric levels, isobars. Okay, and they are the isotherms. Okay, they are the isotherms. So suppose if you have plotted the observed profile of temperature in the vertical, the profile observed from a say radiosonde observation. You have taken a radiosonde observation by flying it on a balloon, right? As you know, tie the radiosonde in a balloon and fly it every day, and it will record the temperature, humidity, and so on, right? And if you plot those temperatures and dew point temperatures, suppose on a thermodynamic diagram or T5, it may look something like this one. Say, starting from here, this may be, say, the surface value. This may be the surface. Surface pressure may be about 1000 millibar. This is 1000 millibar. This is about 1050 millibar. This last line here is a 1050 millibar iso line. Last line. This is 1000 millibar. So let us say if your surface pressure is 1000 millibar, then it's starting from here. And the temperature recorded or observed is, let us say, T1. Then at another level, okay, suppose at this level, the pressure is approximately, let us say this is 1000 and it could be about, say, 950 or something like that millibar. Okay, the next temperature, value of temperature is T3, which is approximately at 800 millibar. Is T3 at 800 millibar. The next level, this temperature is at, say, after 800, this is maybe about 700 millibar approximately, right? So these are the temperature values observed by the radiosonde at different pressure levels in the vertical: 1000 millibar, 950 millibar, 900 millibar, or 850 millibar, 800 millibar, and so on. Okay, this is how we plot, and it will look like this one. Okay, so this is, let us say, your dry bulb temperature. Similarly, you can also plot the wet bulb temperature or dew point temperature, and that will be slightly less than the dry bulb temperature. as you can see it later on. Okay, so this is the typical portion of a T5 and we are illustrating how a sounding, that means the profile of temperature or moisture looks like when it plotted on a T5. Okay, so from this figure, this looks so the atmosphere at a glance illustrated on the T5 with an observed temperature profile running from right to left. Okay, observed temperature profile. Now, in this diagram, the black curve, this one, represented by T1, T2, T3, T4, is a typical temperature profile from a sounding. When we say sounding, we mean that the vertical profiles of temperature, moisture, wind, etc. recorded or observed by a radio sound instrument. Okay, when we say sounding, it means that it is the vertical profile of temperature, humidity, wind, etc. recorded by a radio sound instrument. Okay. The dotted sloping lines, this one from right to left are the isobars. Already we have explained, they are the isobaric levels. Dotted sloped lines. The horizontal lines are the dry adiabates. Already we have explained, they are the dry adiabates horizontal lines. Okay, left to right. And these are also, that means the lines of equal potential temperature. The dry adiabates are also the lines of equal potential temperature, illustrated by the red lines. Okay, red lines. The curved lines, that means these curved lines, green curved lines, this one, are the saturated adiabate or moist adiabate. Okay, so once the particle of air is rising above, it will start losing the temperature, and at certain level it will reach the saturation will occur, and from there onwards it will lose the temperature at the rate of moist adiabatic lapse rate. This is what we try to now determine from the T5, that where the condensation has reached. Okay, where the condensation has reached or saturation has reached. Where there is a saturation, there will be condensation. Okay, in the vertical, the level where the saturation has reached, condensation will start occurring, and that is called the lifting condensation level, LCL. That is called the lifting condensation level. And generally, the base of the clouds, the cloud bases, are at the lifting condensation level. So this is very important. Okay, this information you can get easily from the T5 when you plot the profiles of temperature and dew point temperature. Then you can easily calculate or obtain where is the lifting condensation level, meaning where is the base of the cloud, where the cloud base will occur. Okay, and there's some of the information which we can easily get from a T5. The portion T1, T2, that in this portion of the black curve represents the super adiabatic lapse rate. Super adiabatic lapse rate, where gamma, that is the environmental lapse rate of the environment surrounding air, is greater than gamma D. That is the dry adiabatic lapse rate. Dry adiabatic lapse rate is this one, horizontal lines, but this is sloping much larger, steeper. So the parcel of air will lose the temperature at the super adiabatic lapse rate between these two levels. Between those two levels, it is losing the temperature at the rate of super adiabatic lapse rate. That means it is more than the 10 degree centigrade per kilometer. Within these two levels, the lapse rate is more than 10 degrees centigrade per kilometer, which is super adiabatic lapse rate. Okay, that means temperature is rapidly changing, and that happens in reality at the ground. The ground is heated very high because of the solar radiation. But as you go up, the temperature will drop sharply, very sharply to some very thin layer, in a very thin layer of the ground. This is surface layer. We'll study that later on in boundary layer meteorology course. There is a course called boundary layer meteorology. In that you will study those things in detail later on. So what happens is that in reality, because the ground is intensely heated, so temperature of the air just above the ground, the air which is in contact with the ground is very, very warm. But as soon as you go up, temperature drops down very sharply. There is a very sharp drop in the temperature. That means the rate of change of temperature with height in that thin layer is we call super adiabatic lapse rate. And this is generally not normal, because if that happens, generally that is restored by the mixing. Vigorous convection will take place. When that kind of situation occurs in the atmosphere, when the ground is very intensely heated, air in contact with the ground is having very high temperature, and above it, the temperature drop is very fast. Then that kind of atmosphere, in that kind of atmosphere, immediately convection will start. Just like the convection process, right? Convection. Like you are heating your water in an electrical kettle, okay? Then the lowest level of the water in contact with the bottom of the kettle or the vessel will be heated intensely, and immediately convection will start. The hot water will go up, and from the top, the cold water will come down, right? So similarly, in the atmosphere also, because the air in contact with the ground is intensely heated, so immediately the convection will start, and that convection will mix up the air above quickly, so that the super adiabatic lapse rate is brought back to the normal lapse rate of the surrounding air, or environmental lapse rate. The super adiabatic lapse rate is restored to the normal lapse rate, which can be about 6 to 7 degrees centigrade per kilometer. The normal lapse rate of the atmosphere is about 6 to 7 degrees centigrade per kilometer. The dry adiabatic lapse rate is about 10 degrees centigrade per kilometer. The moist adiabatic lapse rate is about 4 to 5 degrees centigrade per kilometer. The normal lapse rate is about 6 to 7 degrees centigrade per kilometer. So when the atmosphere is super adiabatic, the lapse rate is super adiabatic because of the intense heating of the ground. So that super adiabatic lapse rate in the atmosphere does not last for a long time, does not remain super adiabatic for a long time, because immediately the convection will start, vigorous convection will develop, and that will restore the lapse rate back to the normal value. Okay. So the portion T2 to T3 of the curve slopes upward to the dry adiabatic lapse rate. Okay. We are going up further, and by the time it has already been restored, so now it will tend to follow the horizontal lines, which are the dry adiabatic, because the air mass still is dry. Lapse rate is less than DALR, but exceeds SALR. Okay, in this case, still not completely, this portion is not completely horizontal, but it is definitely less steeper than this portion. Okay, although more steeper than the horizontal lines. This portion T2 to T3 is steeper than the horizontal line, but less steeper than this portion T1 to T2. So because of the convection I already developed. Now for the portion T3 to T4, lapse rate is less than the SALR, saturation adiabatic lapse rate. That is saturated adiabatic lapse rate. For this person, it is less than the SALR. Okay, so it is illustrated. And we shall see now in subsequent classes I'm just trying to explain these things in detail because this is very important. You must understand this thermodynamic diagram, because many things we try to diagnose many information about the properties of the atmosphere based upon these thermodynamic diagrams. Okay, and we shall continue this in the next class maybe. Okay, how we compute the energy, how much energy a parcel of air will have, how much energy will be liberated when it is ascending upward. Okay, how much energy is required to push or lift a parcel from surface to the level of so-called free convection, which is close to the lifting condensation level, LCL. How much energy is required? Because initially, when the air parcel is rising, okay, it will not have the energy to go upward by itself. It will not have the sufficient energy to go upward by itself, and it will require some kind of external push. Okay, and that is provided initially by the intense heating of the ground through convection. That energy is provided to the parcel of air to rise above the ground through the process of convection. Okay, but once it reaches the level of free convection, then from there onwards it will encounter the unstable atmosphere. It will have sufficient energy by itself to rise above that level automatically. We shall see it later on in tomorrow's class, the day after tomorrow's class. And actually, if we see that in this diagram, this is the line. This is the point where the saturation will occur. I'll explain to you this tomorrow in the next class. This is the point where saturation has occurred for this profile of the temperature. For this profile of the temperature, this is the point which has reached the saturation. And this is approximately at, let us say, this is about 900 millibar or so approximately, or 850 millibar, maybe 850 millibar. Okay, so when the air parcel has reached this level through convection or through some other mechanism, it can rise because of the convection, it can rise also because of the mechanical lifting. The air parcel can also rise because of the mechanical lifting. And where will the mechanical lifting occur? For example, it can occur around the slopes of hills or mountains. Suppose if the air parcel is blowing along with the wind across the mountain, and because of the slope of the mountain, the air parcel will be lifted mechanically upward. And when it is lifted mechanically upward, then again there also at certain point the condensation will occur or saturation will occur, and the cloud base will form from there onwards. So it requires some kind of artificial or external energy to lift it up so that it reaches the level of free convection. And from there onward, it doesn't have to have any external source of energy because it has its own energy to go up further. And eventually it will keep on rising. And at certain height of the ground, again, it will meet or cross the temperature profile of the atmosphere. So this is the temperature profile of the parcel of air which has got saturated from this point onwards. And after rising to this level, which is approximately, let us say, I have to see very, very carefully how much is the level here. And it could be about 500 millibar or 400 millibar approximately. Okay. And that means the height is about, say, 400 millibar, about 7-8 kilometers above the ground. So here it met or crossed the temperature profile of the atmosphere once again. So this is called the level of equilibrium or equilibrium temperature level. Okay, and so the top of the cloud will be restricted to this level. The cloud top will occur here. It will not go above, because from there onwards again stability is not there. Atmosphere is unstable only between this level, from here to here. This portion is the portion where the atmosphere is unstable. Okay, so this will be the cloud base, approximately say 900 or 850 millibar, and this will be the top of the cloud, which will be about 400 or 350 millibar. Okay, there are many more things which you can obtain from 85 gram by plotting these atmospheric profiles. Okay, there are many more information, and that's why I said 85 grams are very, very important graphical tools. In old days, that used to be plotted manually. Every day when the observation is taken by radiosonde, these profiles are plotted by the meteorologists on 85 gram, and then from there they deduct or diagnose many informations about the current status of the atmosphere. But nowadays everything is done through computer. Even 85 gram is also generated automatically by a computer. Okay, so there are softwares now available which can generate the 85 grams. All right, so I'm going to stop here. It's already 1:20 now. Okay, and I'd like to ask you whether you have any question. Is everything clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So, any question? Anybody? I see it about 11 people are there only in the class. Still, 5-6 students are absent. See, I mean, people, I don't know, some people may be thinking that anyway, I'm giving them the recorded lecture, video lecture, so they can watch the video lecture, but that is not correct. Watching the video lecture is not sufficient, is not enough. Physical presence is very, very important. See, so much of explanation which I am giving you on the class, that much explanation you will not find, you will not get in the video. And I'm interactive, I'm trying to be interactive, right? Therefore, attending classes are not only important for your attendance, 75%, but also for understanding purpose. Okay, so keep this in mind. Okay, so I'm going to now stop this presentation, stop sharing. Okay, and if no other question, is anybody who came late after I called the attendance? Or everybody's attendance is marked already? I've already called everybody's name. Yeah. Okay. So if so, then I'm going to stop the recording, and then we shall meet tomorrow. We don't have class, so we shall meet the after tomorrow. Okay. Stop recording.